They say if you're lucky, you find out who someone truly is before you build your world around them. I guess I wasn't lucky. I found out on my birthday, because of course it was my birthday. Nothing says happy 35th like the woman you married turning into a stranger mid-toast. Picture this, a dim-lit Italian place, the kind that serves overpriced pasta and calls it handmade. There's Sinatra playing overhead. The waiter just topped off my wine, and my wife, April, stands up clinking her glass like it's a wedding. Everyone's watching. Everyone's smiling. Except me. I had that tight feeling in my chest, the one you get when you know the punchline's going to hurt. She goes, I just want to say how proud I am of Darren. He's the most dependable man I know. Like, scary dependable. Laughter. Seriously, I could run off to another country and Darren would still be here, folding laundry and paying bills like nothing ever happened. The table chuckled. I didn't. She winked. I mean, I haven't done that, obviously. Everyone laughed harder. Obviously. Right. I didn't say a word. Just sipped my wine and smiled like a man too polite to call the fire in his house. Warm ambience. Later that night, after the last friend left and the last plate was washed, I found the receipt. I wasn't looking for it. It fell out of her purse when she tossed it on the counter. 1 room, 2 guests. A boutique hotel. The night before my birthday. I held it like it might burn through my skin. She was brushing her teeth in the bathroom when I asked, flat, "Did you stay at the Langston Hotel on Thursday?" She didn't even flinch. Rinsed. Spat. Looked at me in the mirror. Yeah. By yourself. Long pause. Then, I needed space. I nodded. 2 guests. She didn't answer that part. Just wiped her mouth and left the room like she'd just clocked out of a shift she didn't sign up for. So that's how it started. Not with fireworks. Not with a fight. Just with 4 words over risotto. I haven't done that. I didn't confront her that night. Didn't rage. Didn't pace. Didn't even drink, though the whiskey bottle in the cabinet looked at me like it expected to be unscrewed. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed, fully clothed, while she slept like someone with nothing to confess. The next morning, I made her coffee. 2 sugars, splash of almond milk, same way I'd done every morning for 6 years. She thanked me without looking up from her phone. That's when I realized she was comfortable again. Comfortable enough to hum. She only hums when she thinks the storm passed. So I played along. I didn't follow her to work. Didn't install spyware. Didn't go full detective. What I did do, though, was wait. Because if there's one thing a dependable man learns, it's patience. And I knew something was coming. I could feel it in the quiet. 2 weeks later, it came. Not loud. Not cinematic. It arrived in the form of a whisper through an open window. I was on the porch trimming the hedge. She was inside on the phone. He's not suspicious, she said. I swear. He still makes me breakfast. A pause. Laughter, short, bitter. No, you're not the villain. He's just him. He'll never do anything. She was right. I hadn't. But that's when it clicked. That's when the man inside me, the one I buried under routines and compromise, stood up, stretched his back, and whispered, "Let's see what happens when we do." I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I simply nodded at the hedge clippers in my hand like they'd just told me a secret, and I smiled. Because something had shifted. And the next time she lied, I was going to be ready. I'm not a snoop by nature. I don't rifle through drawers or check browser histories. But when your wife forgets a crumpled Nordstrom receipt in the back pocket of your winter coat, the one she borrowed because hers was still damp, you're allowed to be curious. 2 things stood out. First, the purchase, a men's cashmere scarf. Pricey. Stylish. Not my taste. Second, the date. 2 days after the boutique hotel incident. I waited until she got home. She walked in carrying a gym bag. Said her spin class was brutal. Hugged me with one arm. Kissed my cheek like she was running for mayor. I handed her the receipt like it was an RSVP to her own betrayal. "Oh," she said, blinking like she needed a second to remember which lie this was. "That was for my brother." "You mean the brother who lives in Phoenix and hasn't visited in 3 years?" She didn't answer right away. Just nodded slowly like she was inventing a backstory in real time. I didn't push. Didn't ask who the scarf was really for. I just said, "He has good taste." And her eyes twitched, just for a second. A small betrayal of the face. But I saw it. That night, she showered longer than usual. Came to bed smelling like lavender and silence. I didn't touch her. She didn't ask why. In the dark, she whispered, "We're okay, right?" I let the silence hang so long it grew legs. Then I said, sure. And I meant it. Because I was okay. She just didn't realize what okay would mean the next time she lied. 3 days after the scarf incident, I found the envelope. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't stuffed under a mattress or tucked behind a box in the attic. It was sitting right there on the hallway table, bold as brass, next to a set of house keys and her sunglasses. Cream-colored, thick, hand-addressed in cursive that wasn't hers. I didn't open it. Not right away. Instead, I stood there for a moment, just staring at it like it might unfold itself and confess. April came down the stairs seconds later, phone in hand, scrolling like the rest of the world didn't exist. She didn't notice me at first, then she did. Her eyes flicked to the envelope. Oh, she said, that casual tone she used when she was playing dumb. That's just something from the gallery. Invite. Gallery. Sure. She reached for it, a little too quickly. I let her take it. Watched her slide it into her tote bag like it hadn't just set the fuse on something quiet and final. You opening it later? I asked. She smiled. Yeah, no big deal. Then she kissed me on the forehead. And if you've never been kissed on the forehead by someone you know is lying, let me tell you, it feels like being patted on the head by a funeral director. She left without another word. I didn't follow her. I didn't check her phone. I didn't even go upstairs. I went to the den and sat in the same chair I'd sat in for years, the one with the torn seam on the armrest and the indentation that matched my weight perfectly. The quiet part of me, the one she mistook for weakness, started talking. You don't need to catch her. You already caught her. The question isn't, is she cheating? The question is, how long are you going to pretend not to know? So I didn't pretend anymore. I started writing things down. Not for court. Not for revenge. For memory. Because betrayal has a way of rewriting the timeline. And I wanted to make sure I remembered exactly how it happened. How it all started with a joke at dinner. How the whispers came through the window. How the scarf smelled like sandalwood, and I never wore cologne. How the envelope said, you were never meant to be the main character. Okay, maybe not in ink, but that was the message. I made a list. It went something like this. Boutique hotel, 1 room, 2 guests. Men's scarf, not my style. Envelope, hand-addressed. Confession through the open window. Humming when she thinks she got away with it. Then I added. She stopped locking her phone. You'd think that would be a good sign, right? A sign of trust? Nah, it's a sign of overconfidence. A signal that she doesn't care if I find out, because she's already emotionally somewhere else. I tested it that night. While she showered, I picked up her phone. No code. Just swiped up. Messages were clean. Too clean. That's when I noticed the second app folder labeled Productivity. Inside it, a second messaging app. One I didn't recognize. Click. There he was. No shirt in the profile pic. Just abs, tattoos, and the kind of smirk that comes standard with a leased Dodge Charger and a gym membership. I read 3 messages before I stopped. April, he's getting suspicious. Him, you said he wouldn't. April, he's smarter than he looks. That's the one that got me. Not the cheating. Not the sneaking around. That message. He's smarter than he looks. That's what did it. Because it wasn't about lust or temptation or the usual nonsense people use to justify betrayal. It was about underestimating me. I put her phone back exactly where she left it, dried my hands, and walked into the kitchen. She joined me 5 minutes later, towel in her hair, humming again. Want tea? She asked. No, I said. I'm fine. I was more than fine. I was ready. I knew what came next. I knew how this would end. But first, I needed one more thing. A signature. See, what April didn't know was that I'd already spoken to a lawyer. Weeks ago. A quiet consultation, nothing official. Just a chat. A hypothetical. But now? Now I had names, dates, receipts. Now it wasn't hypothetical. So I printed the papers. Divorce. Clean. No drama. Just her name on the dotted line. I left them on her side of the bed, right next to a second envelope, the one she thought I hadn't opened. Because, of course, I had. And inside was not a gallery invite. It was a card. A handwritten card from him. You make me feel like a man again, it said. Can't wait for the weekend. Tell your husband you're going to your sister's. I booked the room. He signed it with a little heart. So I made a copy. Put the original back. Then I added a post-it note to the divorce papers. Tell him I said thanks for the scarf. And I went to bed. Next to an empty spot that didn't feel so empty anymore. It felt earned. It was Friday morning when she packed the bag. Small, black leather. Her weekend tote, the one she usually reserved for sister getaways or bachelorette trips. It sat too comfortably on her shoulder, like it had been packed before I even woke up. "I'll be back Sunday," April said, checking her nails instead of my face. "Lena and I are doing that vineyard thing upstate. Girls' weekend." "Sounds fun," I said. "Give her my love." No question. No sarcasm. Just those 5 words. And that was enough to make her blink. Not guilt, just surprise. Like she expected a fight and was almost disappointed it didn't come. She kissed my cheek. It landed like a formality. Then she left. And for the first time in 6 years, the house felt right with her gone. I waited until the garage door rumbled shut. Gave it 5 full minutes. Then I got to work. See, the thing about predictable liars is they always use the same blueprint. April thought she was playing chess. She was playing Connect 4 with someone who built the board. I logged into the car's tracking app. We installed it last year after she left the lights on and drained the battery 3 times in a month. Back then, it was for convenience. Now, it was reconnaissance. Her car pinged in real time. Not heading north, toward vineyards and yoga retreats. South, Highway 9, straight toward the city. I smiled. Because of course she was. The boutique hotel again. Room 604, just like last time. She loved the skyline view. I know because I booked it for our anniversary once. She told me the sheets were too stiff. She didn't seem to mind now. I didn't confront her. Didn't storm in like a made-for-TV husband with a hero complex and a divorce decree in hand. No, that wasn't the plan. Instead, I made a phone call. It rang twice. "Hey, bud," I said when the line picked up. "You still run that drone hobby group?" Jason, my old college roommate, had a knack for gadgets and a slight disregard for personal boundaries. He owed me from a decade back when I covered for him during a fire alarm incident involving fireworks and a very confused raccoon. "I need a favor." No questions. Just a few overhead photos. He showed up at the hotel within the hour. Sent me the footage within 2. April on the rooftop patio, wine in hand, hair down, laughing like she hadn't laughed with me in a year. Mr. Abs and tattoos beside her, touching her wrist like he owned the nerve endings. I watched the clip once, then deleted it. Because I didn't need proof anymore. I needed closure. And not the neat, tidy kind you find in movies where someone cries and the credits roll. I needed the kind that builds slowly, like a tide, relentless, measured, final. So I spent the weekend preparing. Step 1. Move everything out. I hired movers from a service called Vanish Co. Real discreet. Paid extra for the no-contact option. Told them to clear the bedroom, office, and kitchenware I bought before we were married. Left everything she ever picked out untouched. Step 2. Change the locks. Not out of spite. Out of practicality. She was coming back to a house, not a home. Step 3. Leave her something to remember. On the freshly wiped kitchen counter, I placed 3 things. Her open envelope, the one from her lover. The divorce papers, still unsigned. A single hotel key card. Room 604. I didn't need to write a note. The silence was enough. Then I left. Not for a motel. Not for a friend's couch. I went to the cabin. The one my grandfather built with his bare hands, up near Echo Lake, where phone signals get lost and thoughts find their way home. I hadn't been there in years. April never liked it. Said it smelled like wood and ghosts. But I always liked the ghosts. They were honest. Out there, with only pine trees and the hum of old floorboards, I finally let it settle. Not the betrayal. Not the heartbreak. The truth. That she didn't love me anymore. And maybe hadn't in a long time. That realization didn't knock the wind out of me like I thought it would. It was more like a slow exhale after holding your breath for too long. I spent the night by the fireplace, sipping bourbon and listening to rain tap the tin roof like a slow drumbeat. I didn't sleep much. Didn't cry either. By morning, my phone was full of missed calls. 8 from April. 4 voicemails. A barrage of texts, each one a little more frantic than the last. But I didn't open a single one. Because she already said everything I needed to hear. She just didn't use words. By the time I drove back from the cabin, I had 16 missed calls, 7 voicemails, and 1 text that just said, "You're being cruel." Cruel. That's what she called it. Not heartbroken. Not confused. Not, "I'm sorry." Cruel. I sat in my truck outside the house for 10 full minutes, engine off, phone in hand, staring at that word like it might grow legs and apologize for existing. It didn't. The voicemails came next. I didn't want to listen, but curiosity has its own gravity, and mine pulled hard. Voicemail 1. Hey, I got home and something's off. Are you out? Did you take some stuff? Call me. Voicemail too. Okay, seriously, what the hell is going on? Why is the bed gone? Why are your clothes gone? You didn't even tell me. Voicemail 3. This is really immature, Darren. What are you trying to prove? That you can move furniture without me? Congrats. Voicemail 4. Her voice cracked for the first time. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. You just disappeared. That's not how adults handle things. Voicemail 5. I found the papers. The key card. Was that supposed to be clever? You think you're making a point? Voicemail 6. Lower now, tired. You could have just talked to me. We could have figured this out. But no, you had to make it theatrical. Voicemail 7. Long pause. Just breathing. Then, I thought you'd never leave. I didn't think you had it in you. That last one stuck. Not the words, but the tone. Like she'd lost a bet with herself. I didn't call her back. Didn't text. Didn't even flinch. Because what she didn't understand was that I wasn't making a point. I was making an exit. Quiet. Deliberate. Permanent. That night, I stayed at a friend's guest house. Marcus. High school buddy. The kind of guy who never asked more than once if you were okay. He just handed me a beer and said, "Want the game or silence?" I chose silence. We watched the fire pit crackle for 3 hours without saying much. At one point he looked at me and said, "You look like a man who just walked out of a burning house." I nodded. He took a sip. "Did you light the match?" "No," I said. But I stopped calling the fire department. The next morning, I opened my phone to a new wave of messages. Some were from April. Some from mutual friends. Some from numbers I didn't recognize. They all wanted the same thing, an explanation. But nobody was asking the right question. Not, "What did she do?" Not, "How long were you unhappy?" Just, "Why didn't you say something?" Because I did. 100 times in 100 ways. Through conversations, glances, sacrifices. Through loyalty she mistook for wallpaper. Through showing up, every day, even when I knew she'd already left the room emotionally. She didn't miss me until I became silent. She didn't realize she loved me until there was no one left to love her back. And that's the tragedy most people never write songs about, not the betrayal, but the realization that you were only ever valued for staying quiet. 3 days passed. Then came the text. The one that told me everything I needed to know. We both made mistakes. I think we should talk. You don't just throw away 6 years. That last line made me laugh. Throw away 6 years? She'd been folding 6 years into a drawer with another man's initials on the label. And now that the drawer slammed shut on her fingers, she wanted to discuss the hinge. I turned off the phone, let her sit in the silence she spent years building between us. Later that week, I sent her the final legal papers via courier. Signed. Notarized. Finalized. No letter. No explanation. Just one sticky note on top. You were right. I don't have it in me. Not anymore. I heard from a mutual friend a month later that she was telling people I had a midlife spiral. That I was always a little emotionally distant. That she didn't want to hurt me. She just needed something more passionate. And if that makes her feel better, I won't stop her. Everyone builds their version of the story. Hers needs to end with me being the weak one. The cold one. The guy who folded socks and forgot how to be exciting. Let her have it. Because the truth isn't about who screamed first or who cheated worse. The truth is about who stayed present and who checked out while pretending to still be home. I didn't leave her. I just stopped staying for someone who wasn't there. And that's when I realized the voicemail parade wasn't grief. It was panic. Not because she lost me, but because she finally noticed I had been there all along, and it was easier to play the victim than admit she never deserved me in the first place. There's a certain kind of cruelty in pretending things are normal. 3 weeks after I served her the final papers, April sent an invitation. Not through text, no, she mailed it. Glossy cardstock. Embossed lettering. A dinner party at our old house. Well, her house now. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe she forgot to update her guest list. But no, my name was handwritten at the bottom, right under the RSVP line. As if she'd planned it. As if I might want to attend. I laughed out loud when I opened it. Not a long laugh. Just that short, shocked kind that escapes before you can swallow it. Like a bark from a man who's finally convinced the universe is doing bits. The RSVP sat on my desk for a day and a half before curiosity won. I didn't reply. I just showed up. Not to cause a scene. Not to confront. Just to observe. to see who she'd become now that I wasn't standing there to catch the falling pieces. She opened the door in a red dress I'd never seen. New hair, new shoes, same eyes, only colder now, like they'd been staring into a mirror that talks back. "Darren," she said, all breathy politeness. "Didn't think you'd come." "I know," I said. "That's why I did." She smiled like I was an amusing guest, like she hadn't tried to rewrite me as an emotional ghost in front of her friends. Inside, the house looked the same on the surface. Same couch, same rug, same overpriced bowl of decorative orbs on the coffee table. But the energy was different. The warmth was gone. It felt like someone had installed museum lighting and turned our old life into an exhibit labeled, "What used to be." Guests mingled. Wine flowed. She introduced me to someone named Chase, her new friend. "No labels," she said with a wink. He shook my hand with the grip of a man who isn't sure if he should feel guilty or superior. He settled on smug. April floated from guest to guest like she was on a reality show called Look How Unbothered I Am. Someone clinked a glass. "Toast time." April raised hers. "To new beginnings," she said, "and to letting go of things that weren't working." People nodded. Some smiled. A few awkward glances darted toward me. I didn't flinch. Just sipped my drink. Then I raised my glass. "To honesty," I said, voice calm, measured, neutral. "To the courage it takes to admit you stopped loving someone before they noticed." A beat of silence. Then a polite laugh from someone who clearly wasn't sure if I was joking. April didn't respond. Just tilted her glass to her lips and drank like she was washing down a pill she couldn't quite swallow. Dinner followed. Something gourmet-looking. Chicken with a French name and vegetables arranged like they were avoiding each other. I didn't eat much. Just watched. Chase leaned in to whisper in April's ear. She giggled, touched his arm. He looked proud. She looked rehearsed. Halfway through dessert, she finally turned to me. "Was there a point to coming tonight?" she asked under her breath, her fork still in motion. "Yes," I said, not blinking. "To remind myself how good it feels to be done pretending." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Took a slow breath through her nose. Then she said something that wasn't meant for public consumption. "You always hated making a scene. Look at you now." "I'm not making a scene," I said. "I'm watching one." And I was. Because that's what this party was. A scene. A performance. An elaborate attempt to convince herself, and everyone else, that she was the one who walked away from me. That she wasn't shaken. That Chase wasn't a consolation prize with a gym membership and a LinkedIn bio that reads like a TED talk about self-importance. I stayed until coffee. Then I stood up, set my napkin down, and nodded once to the table. "Thanks for dinner," I said. April smiled thinly. "You're welcome." Chase raised a glass like we were toasting at a wedding reception. I left without looking back. But I left something behind. A small envelope, tucked under my untouched dessert plate. Inside it was a photo, one she didn't know I still had. It was from our 3rd anniversary. April barefoot on a beach, eyes closed, laughing with abandon. No makeup, no pretense, just her. On the back, I'd written one sentence in ink. "I hope you find her again." That was it. No dramatics, no speeches, no shouting in the rain. Just the truth, folded quietly under a slice of tiramisu. That night, I slept better than I had in years. Because finally, I understood something I hadn't before. Closure doesn't come when they apologize. It comes when you stop needing them to. It started with a like on an old photo. Then a comment, "Missed this day." Then the message. "Hey, can we talk? I've been thinking about everything. I wasn't fair to you." I didn't answer. Because apologies that start on social media usually end there too. But April wasn't done. Over the next week, she messaged 4 more times. Nothing dramatic. No take me back monologues. Just this strange drip of nostalgia, guilt, and thinly veiled regret. She wanted to meet for coffee. Said it wasn't about fixing things, just talking. I said yes. Not because I wanted closure, I already had it. But because I was curious. Curious what version of herself she'd bring to the table now that the spotlight had dimmed. We met at the little cafe on 8th. The one she used to hate because they didn't offer oat milk. Now it was cozy and nostalgic. She showed up in neutral colors, no makeup, hair tied back like she was going for authentic. I recognized the act. I'd seen it play out before, when she met my parents, when we had couples therapy, when she first started pulling away but didn't want to be the villain. "Thanks for coming," she said, setting her phone face down like it was a peace offering. I nodded. "You asked to talk." She sighed like she was about to run a marathon. I've had time to reflect. That word. Reflect. Like she'd been gazing into a mirror that forgot to mention she was the one who lit the match. She talked for a while. About how she missed us. How she didn't know who she was back then. How everything felt confusing, but it wasn't all bad. And then the line she had probably rehearsed in her car mirror. I think part of me still loves you. I let that one sit. Didn't bite. Didn't flinch. Instead, I asked, which part? She blinked. What? You said part of you still loves me. I just want to know which part. Her mouth opened, closed. She smiled nervously, trying to find her footing. I don't know, she said. The part that felt safe. And there it was. Safe. That was my crime. Not unfaithfulness. Not selfishness. Not cruelty. Just stability. She loved me like a life raft until she saw the yacht. I stood up, slid my coffee aside. I'm glad you're thinking about things, I said. But you don't miss me. You miss being forgiven. Her face fell. A tiny crack in the performance. I didn't press. Just nodded. Take care of yourself, April. I left her there with her untouched latte and the look of someone who finally realized the silence wasn't punishment, it was protection. That was the last time I saw her in person. But the tour wasn't over. Over the next month, I heard from her friends. Her sister. Even her old coworker who once told her she was too good for me. They all reached out. Not to take sides. Not to reconcile. But to ask, softly, what really happened. And when I told them, when I said she'd left before she physically walked out, they didn't argue. Because they already knew. She just got there first with the story. Now the script was falling apart. And she couldn't rewrite it fast enough. 3 months later, I got the email. Subject line. Favor to ask. At first, I thought it was spam. But no, it was from April. The message was short. I know this is a lot to ask. But Chase and I broke up. I'm trying to move out. I don't have anywhere to go. Could I stay at the cabin for a few days? The audacity. The sheer, galling audacity. Not because she asked, but because she assumed the door she walked out of was still unlocked. I didn't reply for a day. Not out of spite. I just needed to sit with it. The cabin wasn't sacred. It wasn't even that nice. But it was mine. It was where I went to remember who I was when the house got too loud with silence. And she wanted to bring her heartbreak there? No. But I didn't just say no. I sent one sentence. I'm not your safe place anymore. She didn't reply. Didn't try again. And that, finally, was the last message. It's been a year. I live somewhere new now. Smaller place. Fewer cabinets. No drawer full of someone else's preferences. I have a dog. A real one. Not the theoretical one April and I always talked about but never got because it might scratch the floors. His name is Winston. He snores like a freight train and eats socks. I like him more than I liked most people I met during our marriage. Sometimes I think about those early days. The laughs, the way she used to grab my hand in public just because. The part of her that was warm before she got cold. But then I remember the dinner party, the voicemails, the envelope. And I remind myself, love doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes. And when someone shows you the math on how they chose someone else while you were still counting sacrifices, you don't argue. You close the ledger. Not with fire. Not with a scream. Just with finality. She left looking for better. I left looking for peace. One of us found it.